Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever truly felt, like you are living a life someone else wrote for you long before you were even born? We move through our days under the comforting illusion that we are the sole architects of our destiny. We wake up, we make our coffee, we choose our careers, and we select our partners, believing each decision is a fresh stroke of paint on the canvas of our lives. But if you pause and really look closer at the patterns of your existence, you might begin to notice a faint, underlying sketch that was there long before you even picked up the brush. In psychology, we call this the invisible script. It is a silent, subconscious narrative composed of the beliefs, the fears, and the expectations passed down through generations and solidified in the earliest years of your development. It is the ghost in your narrative, whispering directions from the wings of the stage while you perform the lead role. Think about the way you handle conflict. Think about your relationship with money, or the specific type of person you find yourself drawn to over and over again. Are these truly your choices? Or are you simply following a blueprint that was drafted by your parents, your culture, and your early environment? You see, many of us spend our lives running a race on a track someone else laid down, wondering why, despite all our hard work, we never feel like we're actually getting anywhere new. This script, it governs your sense of self-worth and dictates what you believe is possible for your future. It's the reason you might sabotage a good thing, simply because it doesn't fit the tragic theme of your internal story. Or why you settle for less, because your script says you aren't a character who deserves the win. Most people look at these recurring patterns.
Consider the sensation of being an imposter in your own life. You work hard, you achieve your goals, and yet there is a voice in the back of your mind, you know the one, suggesting that you simply don't belong in this room. This isn't just a lack of confidence. It is the friction caused by stepping outside the lines drawn for you. Perhaps your family's script was one of struggle. And by succeeding, you are, in a way, breaking a silent vow of loyalty to that struggle. We often sabotage our own happiness because, deep down, the mind prefers a familiar misery to a foreign joy. To the subconscious, staying within the lines, no matter how small or suffocating those lines are, feels like safety. To step beyond them, well, it feels like an act of betrayal. We clip our own wings, not because we cannot fly, but because we were taught that the sky is a dangerous place for people like us. But why? Why does the mind cling so fiercely to a script that clearly no longer serves us? Why would your own psychology work against your desire for growth? To understand that, ladies and gentlemen, we have to look at the hidden architecture of your brain, the silent guardian that mistakes your misery for a survival strategy. And as it turns out, the way your mind keeps you safe is far more calculated than you might imagine. Ladies and gentlemen, we must first address a fundamental and perhaps even tragic misunderstanding of the human mind. We often treat our brains as if they were designed to help us achieve greatness, find true love, or build a legacy. But biology? Well, biology has a much humbler, more primal objective. Your subconscious mind is not a growth machine. It is a preservation machine. Its primary directive is not to make you happy, but to keep you certain. This certainty, you see, is governed by what we call invisible scripts. These are the internalized rules, the silent narratives regarding money, love, and your own worthiness that were drafted long before you were even old enough to hold the pen. They were handed down to you. Through the nervous systems of your ancestors and the quiet observations of your childhood environment. You learned.
So, how do we begin to edit a script we didn't even know we were reading? The first step is to stop asking what is wrong with me and start asking, what is this behavior trying to protect? Because once you identify the rule you are following, the script begins to lose its power over your future. However, identifying the script is only half the battle. The real challenge begins when you try to change it. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the mind does not let go of its survival strategies without a fight. And as we're about to see, the way your brain reacts to positive change can often feel like a descent into chaos. Ladies and gentlemen, we must understand that these internal scripts are not merely ideas. They are, you see, neurobiological seals. They are patterns etched into your nervous system, designed, I suppose, to keep you within a safe perimeter. To break these seals, we cannot rely on willpower alone. It just isn't enough. We need a systematic protocol, a way to gently dismantle the architecture of the past. The first phase of this protocol is what I call narrative auditing. For the next 3 days, I invite you to become a silent witness to your own internal dialogue. Carry a notebook, or maybe a digital memo, and every time you encounter an I can't, an I shouldn't, or a that's not for someone like me, well, write it down. You aren't looking for whether these thoughts are true or false. I mean, you are simply mapping the edges of your cage. You will be surprised,
Ladies and gentlemen, we often speak of freedom as if it is something granted to us by the outside world. But the deepest form of liberation is internal. When you finally identify the script, those quiet whispers of, I am not enough, or the heavy chains of, this is just how life is, well, the ink begins to dry. You see, you realize that the script only held power because it was invisible. The moment it is seen, it becomes a choice. Reclaiming the pen is not an act of aggression against your past. No, it is an act of profound self-respect for your future. It is the realization that while you did not write the first chapters of your life, you, and only you, are the one holding the pen for the rest of the story. This is your new horizon. It is a space defined not by what was expected of you, but by what you choose to manifest through your own conscious intent. As you move forward, remember that growth is rarely a linear path, right? There will be days when the old script tries to pull you back into familiar, comfortable patterns. But now, you have a perspective that cannot be unseen. With quiet strength, you are no longer merely the character. You are the architect. The architecture of your mind is yours to redesign, stone by stone.